The impact of decades of widespread government-sanctioned housing discrimination today is plain to see. There's a 30 percentage point gap in the homeownership rate between whites and African Americans. Hispanic Americans face a 20-point gap. These communities fare worse not only on wealth and income, but in education, healthcare, criminal justice, and much more. That's why action is so important. Realtors can be on the front lines of this fight. Realtors can build the diverse, inclusive neighborhoods Dr. King dreamed about. Throughout our program today, we will highlight stories of exceptional realtors who are working hard to be on the right side of history. These NAR members have earned recognition as fair housing champions. We'll share 3 brief videos with you today highlighting these honorees. First is Marguerite Martin, a realtor in Tacoma, Washington. We're going to hear from Marguerite on how historic discrimination still divides Tacoma today. By recognizing these patterns and actively changing her business practices, she's been able to grow her business. Let's take a look.
I was referring clients to a colleague who's Black, and one day she said, I work with people who are white, but most of the clients you send me are not white. And it wasn't conscious, and it was true, and it was deeply embarrassing. Tacoma is small enough to make a difference. This is a place where being involved, you can really make an impact on what happens. And not just as a real estate agent, but as a person who was launching a new website that was all about how people should move to Tacoma. I have a lot of responsibility in how I use that platform. Instead of just like pushing out a bunch of content about housing, to also talk about issues of equity and fair housing and justice and the community within those neighborhoods. I knew about redlining, I knew about steering, and I always thought it was like individual people making poor decisions, and we just don't do that anymore. And then to really understand the history of my industry and the history of my country, there was actually an underwriting guideline that said if the census tract for the neighborhood was more than 15% Black, the government wouldn't fund the loan. From the very beginning of my career, I've been benefiting from a system that disadvantages other people. My company, my real estate association, my community of clients, my community of fellow agents, like we need to be working together to actively disrupt this system. Now we were having conversations about policing, about access to housing, about budgets and schools, and that we have some control over the way that our city grows and changes. And that was the conversation that I wanted to be a part of. If I'm going to do this job, I have to find a way to do it in a way that isn't just neutral, that is like actively undoing the damage that was done. When I look at agents of color, and in particular Black agents in our community, it's different for them. And trying to figure out, as an active, involved member of my company, how do you use your power and your advantages and the money from the career you've built to help other people have that same opportunity? It's become very important to me to be intentional about referring across racial lines. As an industry, we are having this awakening that we can't go back to doing things the way that we've been doing them, and we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard of accountability in being the change.
Congratulations to Marguerite Martin for being an NAR Fair Housing Champion. One thing Marguerite said really resonated with me, that it's not just enough to stop discriminating. We have to actively work to undo the damage caused by discrimination.